David Schonke here, talking to you about the dumbbells devil's press. We're going to go through a few different things today. Standards, what do we need to do in order to get a successful rep on a dumbbells devil's press? The swing and how we use the swing to generate momentum, when we might want to use it or not want to use it. Lowering the dumbbells from the top position, different ways to do that. And then also speeds and how we can change our movement to pace the movement differently according to if we have more reps, we potentially want to pace for doing them slower for a longer period of time, or if you've got less reps or we're in a situation we want to sprint and get them done as quickly as possible. So first of all, standards. What do we need to do in order to get a successful rep on the dumbbell devil's press? So number one, first point or standard is going to be chest and thighs to the floor. In some competitions, they might allow you to do it with dumbbells underneath you. So that would be chest to the dumbbells. In most situations and most standards, they call for chest and thighs to the floor. And if we practice it to the most difficult standard, then we're always going to be able to make it easier if there is an easier standard. So that's number one, chest and thighs to the floor. Second point, arms locked out, fully extended overhead, dumbbells in hands. So as long as we fulfill those 2 points, chest and thighs to the floor at the bottom and arms fully locked out overhead, dumbbells in hands, then we've done a successful dumbbell devil's press. So now let's talk about efficiency. What can we do to make the movement more efficient? Number one, the swing. As I jump up from the bottom of the burpee or step up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let both my feet be a little bit further behind the dumbbells. And I'm going to allow myself to get into this position here where the dumbbells are actually out in front of me. When they're in this position, I can use the fact that they're in front of me to generate momentum as I pull them between my legs and then drive them up overhead. A little bit like a kettlebell swing. I'll show you what that looks like. So come into this position here, I'm pulling the dumbbells between my legs and then snapping my hips open and using the force of my hips to drive the dumbbells up overhead. Notice also that once I've driven the dumbbells up overhead from that finished position, I use that swing again on the way down by allowing the dumbbells to swing between my legs, and then I can place them back down to the floor in front of me. The alternative of this, where we would not let them swing down and just put them straight back in front of us, takes a little bit more effort and it is faster, and we'll talk about that later and why you might want to do that in some situations. So second point, lowering from overhead. You'll notice on the first reps that I did there, I took the dumbbells from overhead and I swung right between my legs straight down to the floor. However, if you want to pace the movement even slower, or if the dumbbells, like an RX weight for the dumbbell, is so heavy for you that you find it quite challenging controlling the weight down between the legs, what you can do instead is lower it to the shoulders first and then lower into that swing and down to the floor. Because then we're lowering from the shoulders into the swing as opposed to all the way from overhead, the amount of force that we have to control when we catch the dumbbells between the legs for the swing is less. So it can work well if you struggle with the RX weights but you want to try and use the RX weight, or if you have like an RX plus weight dumbbell. So say you have dumbbell devil's presses at above 22.5 or 15 kilos. Now, when we lower the dumbbells from overhead, the fastest option is always going to be to lower from fully locked out overhead, straight between the legs, down to the floor. However, if doing that costs so much effort because it's very heavy for us to control the dumbbells between the legs and down, even though it's slower to go to the shoulders first, it may pay off in the long run if it means that we can keep moving through the reps for a longer period of time, as opposed to having to rest after catching them from here because that force is so much that it tires us out. So far on all the burpees that I've done, I've jumped down into the bottom of the burpee and then I've jumped up out of it as well. How you move in and out of the burpee is quite an easy thing to change the pace of the movement. So instead of jumping, we can step. The step is easier. It's also a slower movement, but again, if it means that you can keep moving through many, many reps over the period of say 20, 30, 40, 50 dumbbells devil's press, then overall, you'll probably end up moving faster than if we're jumping up and down from the burpee and then having to stop and rest for a period of time. So this is a good method to use if you've got lots of reps or you really need to pace the reps because the weight is heavy for you or you've got many to compete. So instead of jumping up from this position, I'm going to step up from the position. Same swing with the dumbbells, same swing down, and and then I can step back down into the burpee as well. Because this step is easier, it's a much less aggressive movement. You can keep the heart rate lower, you can keep the breathing rate lower, and then you're probably going to be able to keep moving for a longer period of time. The next fastest from that would be you take out the step on the way down, we just have the step on the way up. This again is a very paced option, but by jumping down into the bottom of the burpee, we add a little bit more speed from the step down and step up. The next option from there would be jumping down and jumping up, as I was doing before. That's probably going to be the most common pacing for a dumbbells devil's press, but again, you can play around with that to move faster or slower, add a step in or out, depending on how you want to pace the movement. The final variation is going to be jumping down, jumping up, but not using the swing. Now this variation, because we're not using the swing, it means, first of all, it's faster, but secondly, it also requires a lot more effort. Especially if you're using RX weight dumbbells, if you don't have the swing, you're going to have the strength to be able to pull the dumbbells from a static position all the way up overhead. What can help with this is actually, instead of jumping the feet from behind the dumbbells, we're not only jumping them to the outside, but we might actually want to jump them in front of the dumbbells as well. The reason being that once we're here, because the dumbbells are behind you, you have a smaller angle at your hip, which means more potential foot power to drive up overhead. This is a variation that I would probably only use in a scenario where I'm trying to sprint, I'm trying to move as fast as possible through however many dumbbells devil's press I have left. Reason being, it takes so much effort, it's not going to be sustainable for many reps. But it's a great option if you have less reps, or you've come near the end of a big set, or maybe near the end of a workout, and you need to get those reps done as quickly as possible. And there's nothing to say that we can't mix up some variations as well. So if you find moving in and out of the burpee more challenging than picking the weights up overhead, or vice versa, you can use a step and also take out the swing. On the other hand, you can keep the swing, but then jump up and down out of the burpee. So for instance, if I found pulling the dumbbells from the floor quite an easy part of the movement, but I find the burpee quite taxing, perhaps because of other pushing movements that I have in my workout, I can step up from the bottom of the burpee, but not use the swing. So in that variation, I'm getting the benefit of pacing the burpee by stepping up out of the bottom of it, but I'm also getting the speed of pulling the dumbbells straight off of the floor without utilizing the swing. And it's all about learning what works for you, but also recognizing other movements that are in your workout and where you are fatigued, so that you can change the movement according to how you feel, so you can move faster and better overall in the workout. Hope you found these tips helpful. Good luck with the dumbbell devil's press.